Hi everyone, and welcome back to Water Moon Cards. This is Luna, and I told myself I wasn't going to do haul videos on this channel, and I'm still kind of trying to hold that intention, but I'm making an exception because I got some weird stuff for holiday time, and I thought some of you might appreciate it. I'll actually start off with my weird journal spread, since you guys like looking in my journal. And this is one I just put together this afternoon. It has stickers from various things, including Bigfoot's House of Vinyl, which will be explained in a minute, but just some wrapping paper and some washi tape from various packaging and things like that. So that was a fun one to kind of put together this afternoon. So holiday time. As I've said before, I'm a Buddhist, don't really celebrate Christmas, but my family and I do enjoy a modest gift exchange this time of year. We'll start with this weird thing, which was part gift, part DIY project. So this is a deck that I don't know much about it, actually. I first saw it on the Victoria and Albert Museum's YouTube channel. My partner sent me this video, and they were talking about different kinds of, they were saying tarot decks, but really fortune-telling decks throughout the ages. And they started showing this one, and I hadn't ever seen it before. So this is called the Petit Oracle des Dames, or this little oracle for women. And it's not a tarot. It is a fortune-telling deck. And Grimaud has put this out, the publisher Grimaud, but it's out of print. And, when I expressed interest in acquiring a copy of this, my partner graciously went shopping and realized all the copies were more than $200, and that's just not what I'm spending on collecting decks these days. Fortunately, Laura of Aquamarine 18 clued him in to someone who is selling scans of these images on Etsy, so you can buy just the images and do a print your own situation. So that's what I did, and I'll do more on this deck in a separate video, possibly, when I kind of talk about, fortune-telling decks in general. But this one's really weird because, as you can see, it is, in some cases, double-sided cards. So you have an image at the top and an upside-down image, and then, you could do a reversal like that. And this one has the Fool and the Bateleur, or the Magician, on the same card. So clearly not a tarot. There are playing card associations here. I don't believe they're the same as the Lenormand, but I haven't looked in super amount of detail. And then sometimes you get individual cards, so you don't have the reversal. And this one, for example, looks like a Marseille Devil card with the two imps and the winged, hairy-legged devil standing on a plinth. But it's not called the Devil. It's called Force Majeure or Enterprise. So that's interesting. And then you get totally non-tarot-like cards like this one. So at the top we have Society and essentially Conversation, I think is how you would translate that. And then on the other side we have the Old Man, Father of the Family. So depending on whether you've read, whether it came out reversed or upright, so to speak, you would read that card. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know much about it. If you have any more on the history of this deck, or you have a copy of the Grimaud edition with the booklet that it comes with that has more information, I would love to know more about that, because I'm debating making my version. I got this printed at the Game Crafter, which is a US print-on-demand company, and I'm debating making that available, but I also don't want to circumvent copyright. It's very important to me to keep people's intellectual property, protected. If you have any information about the Petit Oracle for women that you can share with me, please leave a comment or send me an email. So the next weird thing that I got was I finally was given a copy of the Jacques Faville, and actually 2 copies of the Jacques Faville, due to an error on my part. So I knew Artisan Tarot had put one out, but I hadn't realized that Sullivan Hismans had done a restoration, Tarot Sheet Revival, out of Belgium. So I was going to get this, and I asked for it initially, and then like 2 days later, I went, oh no, I didn't mean to get this. This is available. Would you please get this one instead? And by then, my mother had already ordered this, which is, granted, much less expensive. So ended up with two, which was really nice. If you're not familiar with the Jacques Faville, it's another weird deck. It is a tarot, and it was printed in the mid-1600s, but we now think the wood blocks are potentially earlier. And again, I need to fact check myself, but I'll just show you a few cards here. You can see full flip throughs on a number of other channels on YouTube. Yeah, you've got these huge headed characters. The horses have sort of strange expressions on their faces. Everything's out of proportion. And it's just odd. And then it has some, alternative imagery for some of the cards. So this is the moon, and we see a spinner here. Here's a sun card with a baby on a horse. So Pamela Coleman Smith did not invent that image. This angel in the judgment card looks pretty teed off. So yeah, it's weird. And then all the pip cards are sort of wonky in this way, nothing kind of lines up properly. Everything's a little out of proportion. Sometimes the foliage is cut off in places. So I love this deck, and I've been wanting to get a copy that sort of met my needs. And I'm so happy to have this, and it is unbelievably weird. So I look forward to delving into this more. I'm actually going to make a separate video about this Faville in the context of restoring decks where we only have, an older, very aged copy, and sort of what do we do? What kinds of artistic choices might we make when we're doing these kinds of restorations? So that's my second weird thing. And then my third weird thing, and the reason for this lovely backdrop and accompanying psychedelic tarot card pouch, has to do with the Grateful Dead. So it's not this deck. This is the Grateful Dead Tarot, and I'm just going to show you some cards from this while I tell you a little story. So several weeks ago, my partner sent me an article about this band called Touchtone that used to play in the 1960s experimental music that was the backdrop for an improvisational mime show. And this mime troupe and their live band toured around California. I don't know if they really got out of California or not. Sometimes opening for the Grateful Dead themselves, although I don't think any of those recordings still exist. And Tom Constantine, who was one of the leaders of Touchtone, also played for the Grateful Dead. So there's another connection there. And this band released the album, a cast recording of the album. I don't know how you have a cast recording of a mime troupe, but anyway, they released a cast recording, and my partner and I were really curious about that, and so we looked it up. There are clips of this on YouTube, but I guess he wasn't totally satisfied with that, so he tracked down a copy of the album, and the name of the album is Tarot. You probably can't see the text right here very clearly, but it says the original cast mime album, music conceived and performed by Touchtone. So this is it, and I'll show you the whole cover since I can't fit it on the screen. And yeah, I've only listened to the YouTube clips. I just got this yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to fire up our turntable. But I am looking forward to listening to this. The excerpts that I've heard are, what you might think a psychedelic 1960s mime troupe soundtrack would sound like, if you can put all that together. But I just think it's amazing that this exists. The copy that my partner was able to track down is in pristine condition, maybe never played or maybe only played once or twice. The record itself is in excellent shape, and I noticed that it is stamped for promotional use only. So this must have gone to a radio station or something. And so, maybe wasn't played at all. They looked at it and went, weird, and set it aside. And then somehow it ended up in this used record shop. So I'll just show you the vinyl. It's in great shape. And the tunes on here have interesting titles. So the first one is called The Turtle. The second one is Greed. Third is The Thief of Cups. Be interesting if we had a thief in every suit, wouldn't it? Fourth is The Harlequin. The Maiden's Waltz is the fifth track. The Lover's Walk in the Magic Forest. 7 is The Birth of the Hermit, mandala music. And 8th is The Mystic Carpenter. And then on side 2, we have The Chariot Space Voyage, The Star. Track 2 is The Moon. 3 is The Old Fool's Reel. 4 is The Devil, The Fight. 5 is Limbo. And 6 is The Turtle. And I also wonder if that connects up. Often, 60s concept rock albums like this, the first and last track would sort of bookend an album, and you could run them together and listen to it as kind of an infinite loop. So I am very curious about this, and I will post the article that kind of talks about this album in more detail. One of the very cool facets is that when you open up the cover, inside is a full collage piece that is both a single work of art, but it's also made up of individual tarot cards. So there's an entire tarot set in the inside liner notes of this album. And of course, my other, interest in this is like, ooh, I wonder if I could get a super high quality scan of the inside and then somehow figure out a way to print this. It would be very hard because it's all run together. So it's like, how do you delineate which card is which? But that would just be so much fun to try to have done. Might be beyond my graphic design skills. And it's funny because the person who designed this piece of artwork was also in the band. So multi-talented there. So yeah, that's my weird haul. And I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that was interesting to see, learn about. Again, if you know more about any of these things, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I hope you had a nice holiday, and I hope you got something weird too. Thanks, and take care. Bye-bye.